Hey, it's Liana with Accelerated Hypnotherapy. I wanted to say hi to all my male subscribers and listeners. I want to thank you for listening, for showing up, and for reaching out to me on the free calls that I have available for you. I've tried to make that a little bit easier to get in touch with me by putting my contact details in the description of this channel as well as this video. I've made this video for someone that I spoke to recently who had a lot of issues that I'm going to speak about in this video. If you've had issues, if you seem to have motivation, willpower, discipline problems, and you can't do the simplest things, that might be a signal. When you can't even do the simplest of things, it might not be a motivation, discipline, willpower issue. It might be a trauma issue. If it's felt like you've had learning disabilities, that might also be an issue with trauma. Thank you again to all my male listeners. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. And let's take a closer look at this stuff. Do you have a motivation, willpower, discipline problem, or is this actually trauma? If you felt like you can't even accomplish really small tasks, and if you struggle to get things done and stay focused, it's easy to blame yourself for having a lack of motivation, willpower, or discipline. But research shows that trauma can also cause these problems. Trauma changes the way your brain works, and it makes it harder to start and finish tasks, even if you really want to. This is how trauma affects motivation. It changes areas in the brain, the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the prefrontal cortex. These are key areas for motivation, discipline, and getting shit done. The amygdala becomes overactive after trauma. This is the part of your brain that acts like an alarm system and makes you feel on edge and focused on the negative, which your brain already does. Your brain already has a negativity bias, but now you are hyper vigilant, you are triggered as f***, and you're focused on threats. When you're hypervigilant, you can't focus on the daily things or long-term goals because your brain is stuck in survival mode. So when you're just trying to survive, cleaning your room is the last thing that your brain wants you to do. Another area of your brain called the prefrontal cortex helps with planning, making really good decisions, self-control, regulation, and responding. This area is less active after trauma, so it's going to be harder to organize things, to make decisions, to control impulses, to regulate yourself, to respond logically, because logically you know what you need to do, but you just can't seem to get started or follow through. The hippocampus is the part of the brain that's involved in memory and learning. The part of the brain that helps us understand that a threat is over by placing memories in context, in a certain location and a certain time. When it's been affected by trauma, we can overreact emotionally because the brain stays stuck in survival mode in the present tense, like the trauma that we've experienced maybe years ago is happening in the here and now. Trauma can also affect short-term memory, so it's harder to remember and organize what it is you need to do, and that gets in the way of learning new things. You might not have a learning disability, it might be the trauma. When these areas of the brain are affected by trauma, it's not just about not being motivated or disciplined. Your brain is actually working differently, making it harder for you to focus, plan, and complete tasks, even the simplest of tasks. And this is why trauma survivors often struggle with daily routines and long-term goals. This is why you're feeling so hopeless, stuck, and triggered as f***. You might not even realize that it's trauma. This might be a problem that you've experienced for a really long time, since you were young. And the problem with trauma is because it's so overwhelming, a lot of times we dissociate from it, so we don't even remember. We have all these issues with motivation and discipline, and we can't pinpoint. We don't quite know why. It could be trauma if it's been happening for a while. You just can't seem to get these things done because these changes in your brain from the overwhelm of experiencing trauma can cause problems with memory, decision making, and handling emotions and regulating yourself. These are all key for motivation and discipline. Trauma can also affect how you feel about yourself in the world. You might start to internalize these feelings of helplessness and shame, which become part of your identity, whether you know about the trauma or not. And when you do know about the trauma, you actually start to identify with the trauma because it's overwhelming. It starts to take over your here and now, and it takes up all the space in your future. So you're hopeless. And you might start to believe that you're not worthy or that nothing that you do will make a difference. And it's hard to feel motivated at the subconscious level. It makes it hard to believe that even doing anything will make a difference. After trauma, avoidance is your brain's way of protecting itself from more trauma. Because when you've been through something that occurs to you as traumatic, your brain becomes more sensitive to threat and it becomes less able to manage stress. This leads to a strong urge to avoid and to stay away from anything that remotely reminds you of the trauma, whether it's people, places, feelings, a thought, something random. Notice how you avoid things. Your brain begins to learn this pattern because your brain is super sensitive to the slightest patterns, because learning patterns is a survival response in hopes to prevent any more distress, trauma, or overwhelm. And while avoidance can offer short-term release, it can keep you stuck and it makes things harder in the long run. It can make your life unworkable. And research shows that this is a natural reaction to trauma. It's not a sign of weakness, a lack of willpower or discipline or motivation. Avoidance, hypervigilance, feeling triggered, and negative thinking are all common after trauma. You might not have a willpower, motivation, discipline problem. You might have a trauma problem. And these are just signs that your brain is trying to protect itself. It's in survival mode. When you're trying to survive for your life, you can't do the dishes. That does not compute to that part of your brain that is trying to protect the body, that's trying to protect itself. Trauma can also lower that feeling of self-efficacy and self-esteem, making it even harder to take action or believe that you have the ability to actually change things. Especially in childhood, trauma is linked to lower motivation and more trouble with self-control and goal setting. Those symptoms like hyperarousal are directly connected to lower achievement motivation. What is looking like a motivation problem, like you just can't get things done, is often a trauma response. Accelerated hypnotherapy and OEI therapy for trauma can help significantly reduce symptoms of trauma and PTSD, including avoidance and intrusive thoughts and those intense feelings in your body as if there's something bad happening in the moment, even though you might be safe. You might just be in your room, in your home. What hypnotherapy does is it helps bypass that conscious mind to address what's going on subconsciously, like those emotions that are underneath everything, making it easier to change negative patterns created by trauma. Studies show that hypnosis can affect lasting improvements in PTSD symptoms. It's hard to do it on your own. It's hard to get unstuck by yourself. You sometimes need a helping hand to pull you out. And in this way, you can process and integrate trauma. And because when you integrate trauma, you put it into the past. And when trauma is in the past, it stops taking up all that space in your present moment. It stops filling up and taking over your future. And this is where hope is created for new possibilities for a whole new future. Let me know if this makes sense to you in the comments. If you've had air quotes problems with motivation, willpower, and discipline, and does it make sense that it could be trauma? You might know about the trauma, or you might have dissociated from it, but you feel like there's something there. And this isn't an excuse, but this is an explanation to help you to seek the right type of help. Subscribe and like this for more content on trauma, what happens in your brain, and how to process and integrate trauma. And let's connect on the next one.